Smilling Coast. I am Ibrahim Balde, the program that highlights all the destinations Gambia offers to visitors. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be talking to the Director of Marketing, GP Board, Mr. Adam Manjari. And I have him with me, my bro. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Jai will start by telling us how COVID-19 affected the tourist season last year, coming down to this year. First, let's start with that.
I think if you look at holistically, and Gambia, of course, is not an exception. And I think it is very clear from the UNWTO report that the hardest hit industry, of course, is tourism. And from the Gambian perspective, it was very bad because you can see almost all our hotels were closed, no employment, there is no movement, foreign exchange is badly affected. And to make matters worse, people were actually depressed because, as you are aware, if there is no tourism in Gambia, people are not happy at all. People are not happy at all, yeah. So exactly. It was bad. Yeah.
And last week we've seen 136 tourists landed in the Gambia to spend their holidays. Can you tell us if all the things needed are all in place? Attraction, accommodation, are all these things in place?
Well, actually, I wouldn't say 100%, but I mean, as you know, the way COVID hit our economy, most of our players, or all players, were actually cash strapped. But at least the important thing about the first flight from the UK, of course, through Gambia experience, has actually boosted confidence again for the Gambia and for the industry. And most of the big hotels are actually open. Most of the hotels are open. And I'm sure if you go out at night around the Senegambia Strip, you can see most of the restaurants are also opening up. So, it was a boost for us because last year there was no charter flight, there was no tour operator operations in the country, and it actually kills all of us. But at least we are now trying to resuscitate from the dark days. So we are very optimistic. At least we have the first flight, and some of the flights are subsequently coming. Yeah, subsequently coming. Yeah.
Is there any arrangement with other countries to allow their citizens to come to the Gambia?
Yeah, the good thing that the Gambia government did, and I have to say thanks to the dynamic leadership taken by the ministry, and specifically, of course, the Minister of Tourism and Culture, and with all the stakeholders, including the Minister of Health, the conclusion that was made before the season start was anybody that comes from our source market with your certificate showing that you have your vaccination, you come to the Gambia free. And I think that has actually triggered a lot of interest from our source market coming to the Gambia. If it was difficult, it might be negatively impacting our own arrivals. But you can see that those from our source market will come to Gambia. If you have your injections with your card, you come free. You will not go to quarantine or to go under massive scrutiny that was happening, during the peak period of the COVID. Yeah.
What about preventive measures that are put in place? Is there anything put in place to make sure our visitors are safe when they are in this country?
Well, of course, I think it is very clear that despite the fact that if they have the certificate, they will come. But I'm sure you're aware that we have a protocol on our COVID protocol. I mean, we're actually sticking by it. Even yesterday, I sent the protocol to Gambia Experience. So as a country, we are sticking by it. And all the hotels and all the tourism establishments are sticking by it because I'm sure the Gambia Tourism Board have a quality department. So we're working closely with our stakeholders to make sure the protocol dictates everything that must be implemented. And that is the only way we can actually protect the industry. And of course, in terms of security, I'm sure when you came to the airport, you must have seen lots of police around. And like I always say, without security, there is no tourism. And that was, a booster for us at the airport. And the rest assured that it's been maintained within the TDA, and that's not going to change. It's not going to change, yeah.
If tourism cannot work easily without tour operators, and who are the tour operators that you working with to make sure tourists come to the Gambia?
Well, I think the biggest player now is actually TUI, you know, and of course, the likes of Gambia experience, you have the likes of the Rainbow Tours, you know, they are all coming. So for me, the partners, TUI is actually taking the lead, because if you look at TUI now, TUI UK alone will bring in 4 flights. So for now, they'll bring in 2 flights until December, then they add the other 2. And if you look at the likes of Gambia experience, they have started their first flight. Hopefully mid-December they'll be the second flight. And Corendon also is a big player now. They're having 3 flights. So even the statistics, 2 years ago or last year, have seen that the Dutch market overtook the UK market. And I'm sure you are aware that the UK market has been #1 for so long. So that tells you the ball game is changing slightly from the UK to Holland. And of course, thanks to our players like the likes of TUI, Corendon, and of course other scheduled flights like Brussels Airlines. And I'm sure you're aware that Air France is also starting their flights on the 1st, and they'll be flying daily flight to Banjul from Charles de Gaulle. So that's a booster for us. I think, you know, we should be hopeful.
Okay, that's very important. Let's look at this. Why should they visit the Gambia? Why should people visit the Gambia? And I know that's your area marketing. Tell me, why should people leave their country for the Gambia? What do we have to offer?
You know, I always tell people whenever we travel overseas, when you talk about the slogan, the Smiling Coast of Africa, you cannot beat that, because the first impressions are less. And I can tell you there is one thing about the Gambia. When the moment our visitors arrive at the airport, the first thing they see is the hospitality of our country. And there are immense cultural diversity we have in this country, which of course you can see in other countries. Okay, let's take the Kunta Kinte situation, or let's look at the Roots Festival. It is here. And there are so many UNESCO heritage sites that are in this country, among others in terms of safety, in terms of feeling at home. Because one thing is to leave your country, but when you come to another country, like the Gambia, you want to feel safe. And we are safe. You understand? So when you have that, then, you know, tourists are leaving home and coming home. So I think those are the things that we will boast of in terms of reasonability of our hotel accommodation. You cannot beat it within the sub-region. And the navigable river. So what else can you ask for? That's why the Smiling Coast, that's what the Smiling Coast is all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think there was a time I had tourists coming from another part of the world, different from the regular tourists that we have. I think it is from Russia?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I think Russia was a very important market towards our strategy in diversifying our reach in other non-traditional market. And we're still working to make sure that we resuscitate the Russian market. And I can tell you that we are working with our partner who is very instrumental in this country, and we might have flights from Ukraine. And of course, we already have Poland. It was because of the COVID that the police had to reduce their flight from 2 to 1. So we're trying to bring that back. And it is actually confirmed the Rainbow Tours from Poland will bring them a flight a week. So yeah, those are things that you know, we have to put in place, because I'm sure you're aware that if you want to depend only on your source market for the past 20, 30 years, other countries are looking into other markets, and Gambia would not be an exception. And that's why the likes of Russia, Ukraine, you know, and even up to the United States. I'm sure America is a very important market to us. Unfortunately, we were having this air access problem. And I think we had a meeting with Air France, and their manager based in Dakar has confirmed that so far their operations to Banjul, most of the bookings are from the United States. So that means that we are trying to see a proper connection, including the Brussels Airlines, that American, or those from the diaspora, particularly from the Afro-American in the US, would be able to come to the Gambia and see what the Gambia has to offer. And we have a lot of things that we can show the Americans you know, their heritage, you know, and that's a good sign for us. That's a very good sign.
Mr. Ja, let's take a look at standard and quality. It is very important. What is the standard when it comes to our hotels, the food, you know, because most of these tourists, they want to see standard, they want to feel they want to feel it. So how quality and standard is our services?
I think there's one thing that countries should not joke with, including the Gambia, is everything is about standard. Of course, we have seen over the years, standards are something that you won't relax on. That is why you have the Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute giving the capacity of the hotel industry. And I can tell you, GTHI, one of the things that they are good at is trying to make sure that anybody that comes through their system, you have the technical know-how on how to give the standard that is required for the tourists to appreciate. And I think we have a quality and assurance department that takes care of checking the hotels. That's why you have this star rating 5, 4 star, 3. There's a lot of combination for a hotel to be given a 5-star. And there's a reason why a hotel is given 3, 4 star. So because we have the hotel classification. And of course, there's also some standards that are put in place in terms of the restaurants. So I'm not saying that we are 100% in terms of customer service, but we working very hard. If you look at, personally, if I should look at 2 years ago and now, there's a massive change in terms of us boasting in terms of proper customer service and also the standard that is being required. Because without the standard, it doesn't matter, you know, how many millions of dollars that you spend in marketing. You have to have the standard, and the service have to be right, and of course the product. When that happens, then you know, you'll see many repeaters, and I'm sure statistics have shown that almost 50% of our tourists that comes to this country are repeaters. And of course, when you repeated something, you want to see a difference, and that's why GDHI is very instrumental in terms of the strategy directions of standard and quality service in terms of the
What are we going to do to expand, maybe to expand our hotels, maybe around the rural area, to encourage at least visitors to be going and experiencing that area too, which is very important. If you look at those areas, you don't have standard hotels down there. So is there any plan in the future to do that?
I think the plan is already in place. I think the Minister of Tourism and Culture have a foresight in terms of promoting domestic tourism. And we have seen the likes of Senegal and other countries. Yes, of course, it might be at an early stage, but at least the concept has been appreciated by people. And you're right, hotels in their country or accommodations are not very good. But the good thing is there are so many incentives that are given to investors who want to build hotels or accommodation in the rural areas or in the hinterlands in terms of tax holidays up to 8 years and some other stuff. So, and also, I'm sure you're aware that we are also building this, you know, trying to establish these eco-camps. You know, I mean, the reason why those things are coming up is just to kickstart something so that every Gambian will have the mindset that we need to be also appreciating what we have in the hinterland. But that can only be possible if we have good accommodation. And I think that's why, I mean, for us as an industry, it's even better for us because we don't want tourists to come just stay within the Senegambia area. They need to see what we have. We have a lot of things that are on top in the rural areas. And the only way we can push the tourists to that site is to make sure we have good accommodation. But of course, the government, the GT board, and of course our stakeholders are cognizant of the importance of having standard hotels or accommodation in those areas. And we are working with our partners to make it happen.
Very important. Then let's take a look at the heritage sites, you know. It's very important. I went to Kiribati and I was impressed what I saw, you know. The place is really fantastic. It's a nice place. Yeah. And do you have any intention of doing such at the Stone Circle in Wasu?
I can tell you one thing. One of the things that our Honorable Minister has a passion is to make sure that when it comes to heritage sites, they will have all the requirements that is needed for tourists to be coming. And he's the one that is championing this, and which is a good thing. I mean, if you have a leader that has a foresight in terms of heritage sites, because without our heritage sites, we don't exist, because that is who we are. And I'm sure that, I'm glad you mentioned about it, but yes, but there are so many plans that are coming, and I'm sure National Center for Arts and Culture would be more than happy to actually expose what they have in mind. But I can tell you the programs and the plans that have been done in Kerbach would follow suit to the other sites. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Mr. Jai, what are you people doing to build the relationship between you, GT Board, and other countries to make the smooth transaction when it comes to tourism? Maybe go meet other countries, talk to them for their tourists to come to the Gambia. Is there any other, are you doing that?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think most of our partners overseas, we have a constant communication to see what can we do. If we are here today, what can we do to make it better? And I can give you an example in terms of our entrepreneurial drive. We just from Kenya to learn best practices. Because of course when you talk about Kenya, you know, they're actually big boys in terms of tourism. But when we went there, we saw a lot of things that we have in common. And on the pipeline, there is a proposed MOU will be signed that will take care of a lot of things in terms of exchange program, in terms of capacity building, in terms of study tours, to name a few. But of course, another thing that is also important that we have done in another country is Senegal. We also have a draft MOU because we believe that there should be one package to destination. And if you have Senegal and Gambia combined, it's actually a plus. You go to the likes of Ghana, we also have an MOU. The likes of Nigeria and other countries are having interest to sign an MOU with us. So for us, without collaboration, the concept of tourism growth in Africa will be affected. And we have seen it during the COVID. Africa, we were too dependent to the European market. But we can do a lot within the African connections. And if we have that, you know, whatever we have from the West will be a supplement to our arrivals and to our tourism growth. So yes, you know, we work closely with our partners on a daily basis to make sure their requests and what we want from them is possible. And our agenda is just to make sure that all the partners that we are having business or communication with is to see what they can do to increase their operations in this country, be arrivals, be investment, etc., etc. Yeah, so we are, you know, so that is really, you know, up and running.
So when are we expecting our next flight of tourists to the Gambia?
Yeah, we have Colonel is coming on the 3rd. I'm sure you'll be there around 8:30. Then after that, of course, Air France will be coming on the 1st. Then followed by TUI UK on the 5th, and another TUI UK also on the 7th. Then from there we start planning for the TUI Holland and TUI Belgium, and of course rainbow tours, together with the second frequency of Gambia experience. Yes. So yeah. So the next flight.
Interesting. How will you, if you were to gauge this tourist season, how will you see the tourist season? Like, tell me what is your own perception when it comes to the tourist season this year? From what you say, the start of the season, do you think it will be a fruitful one, Mr. Jai?
Well, for me, I'm very optimistic. Like I said, if we were not having any charter flight during last year or 2 years ago, if you start having the likes of Gambia experience, TUI UK that have taken over the route of Thomas Cook, and of course, Corendon also did not come last year. They're coming back. You have the likes of Air France. You know, you have the likes of Air Peace are also flying despite of their schedule. So in totality, the players that were missing last year or year before last are actually coming back. So it is very clear to see what, you know, the difference. So we are optimistic. We are very optimistic because we are having flights that were not coming last year or year before last. So yes, I just hope all things being equal, I just hope that we can continue to contain the COVID worldwide. And when that happens, the chances are very high for us as a country.
I understand it's in the flight that brought this tourist last week, it's called the Titan Airways. Can you tell me, is it the first time for this flight to come to Gambia?
No. Titan has been a partner with Gambia Experience for so long now. I think, if my memory serves me right, if it is not more than 5 years. Yeah. But for me, what is important is the love that Gambia Experience or our tour operators are having. Because Titan could be chartered by any tour operator. Maybe, who knows, Gambia Experience can even bring another carrier. But what is important is the tour operator is selling destination Gambia, and Titan or any other carrier will bring flights from the UK to Bangkok.
We cannot conclude this interview without at least doing something on Thomas Cook. Still, people are crying for Thomas Cook. How does this thing affect us?
Oh, it affects us badly. If you were having a tour operator flight that was coming almost daily. But what I'm saying is, the collapse of Thomas Cook have made us to think about over-dependence on tour operators. And I think us as a country, we need to look into promoting more scheduled flights and even have a national carrier. Because it is very clear that other countries that are around us, let me give an example like Senegal, any country that has a national carrier, you have the advantage of serving as a feeder to the tour operators that their operations is seasonal. If the time that Thomas Cook collapsed, there was a national carrier for Gambia, we would have been flying to the route, not to close 100%, but to actually minimize the gap that has already occurred during the flight. So we need to look into air access. We need to look at having a national carrier. I know it is a big thinking for the government. It's a big thinking for the
It must be very expensive.
But success is never cheap. I mean, if other countries are doing it, Gambia could be able to do that. You understand? It is expensive, but we need a national carrier. We need more scheduled flights so that our over-dependence on the tour operator will be minimized. Otherwise, tour operators, you can see, when Thomas Cook collapsed, everything collapsed. But the good news is now, UK has taken the route with the 4 flight for a start, and we are optimistic that the demand is there from the UK. And hopefully next year or year after, we might see daily flight like the same thing that was done by Thomas Cook. So the signs looks great.
Mr. Yeah, I know this one, you might not get the statistics, but can you tell me how many tourists are we expecting this year?
I know this question has been asked in most cases. If I look at the statistics last year, like I said, without the tour operators coming, it was about 89,000. So if I can have that, I expect with the new coming of these flights, including some more scheduled flights, personally, I think we'll hit 100,000 plus. It could be even 150, it could be, but we should be able to hit 100,000 plus. But it could even increase, because if the demand is there now, I can see there is the supply. If the demand increases, I can tell you, more flights will be coming. Yes, so fingers crossed. All things
okay, let's talk about the tourism security unit, which is set aside to make sure it handles all things related to tourism. How safe are they? This is very important, because most people, before they travel to the Gambia, all they'll ask is, Gambia a safe country? How safe is it?
I think we were safe. I think if we compare ourselves to other countries where you cannot even walk at night without being stopped or being harassed, I think that's something we can boast of as a country. But we shouldn't relent on that. I think we should always think of, on a daily basis, how to improve our security, how to improve the safety of our country, how to improve the safety of our tourists. And I always say this, it doesn't matter what we do as a country. If we compromise our security, we compromise the most important pillar of any country's success. Today, we are talking about tourism here. We are only talking about tourism because our country is safe. It doesn't matter how many good products and services that you have as a country, but if your country is not safe, you don't expect tourists to come there. So our safety must be maintained. And I can tell you, the Tourism Security Unit are doing a good job. But of course, we are also monitoring. From the GT board, we have our staff that are with them every day. And anything we see that might compromise our security or their operation, they will be taken to account. Because we don't compromise the security of our tourists, neither do we compromise the security of this country, because that is what tourism calls for. That's why we are known of. That is what the Smilling Coast is all about.
Okay, Mr. Njai, on a final note, what do you have for people watching you right now, especially those watching you from outside?
Well, all what I can say to everybody, I mean everybody for that matter, is let's maintain the peace we have in this country. Tourism has shown lots of importance in our economy, in terms of GDP, in terms of employment. And for me, well, I might be called biased, but I think tourism is more important than any other sector. So we should nurture it. Let's be together. Let's make sure our safety and our security and our peace is maintained.
I wanted to at least connect to that.
Yeah.
We are approaching elections 4th of December. And you know, this is the peak and tourists are coming into the country. Don't you think it will somehow affect the way tourists flow in the Gambia?
I don't want to go into the direction, but what I can say as an advice is election comes and go, but Gambia stays. If we have that concept in our minds, we will be very cautious of what we do, because anything that compromises with our peace and security, we have nowhere to go. And us as a country, as Gambians, this is what we have. It's Gambia that we can be proud of. But we can only be part of our country if the peace that has been known since independence is maintained. If we have that in our mind, I don't think the election will go otherwise. I think every Gambian should put that in mind, that our safety is what Gambia is known. Let's maintain the peace, so that we will see a bumper tourism, a good rainy season, because everything is about peace. When we have that, then every success can come to our doors. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Njai, for talking to us on the Smilling Coast.
The pleasure is all mine.